Hana means family. Family means nobody gets left behind or forgotten.
Hey, welcome back to ScreenCrush, I'm Ryan Airy. So Lilo and Stitch might be a box office success, but we think the film, like most of these live action remakes, is actually still missing the mark. Disney, stop doing remakes and instead, please make authentic adaptations. Guys, you have to admit that the Disney live action remake train has run out of gas. People have been apathetic to the last few live action releases. Even people who enjoyed Lilo and Stitch say it's cute, but it doesn't compare to the original.
Obviously.
Plus, with the recent box office disaster of the live-action Snow White and the reported pausing of the Tangled live-action film, Disney needs to make a shift in how they approach these films. Disney has lost the definition of what it means to adapt versus remake, and this needs to stop. But wait a minute, what is the difference? That is a great question, and here's a refresher. A remake is a new version of a previously released film. It uses the same core story, the characters, and themes as the original film, but it updates or modifies some aspects for the current target audience. Whereas an adaptation is a film based on a pre-existing work in a different medium, such as a book, play, comic book, or video game. It translates the source material's story, characters, and themes into a different format. Technically speaking, most Disney live-action films are adaptations, not remakes, as they take a pre-existing work in animations format and they translate it to live action. Now, there are a few exceptions, like Pete's Dragon, which is a remake as it's the same medium as the original, and also there's the 90s classic Homeward Bound. However, Disney has been producing these live-action films in a way that makes audiences label them more as remakes. Now, this is especially true of something like The Lion King, which is just retold verbatim with realistic-looking animation and one shot of live action. I don't think the corporate execs at Disney understand the medium. Making something realistic but still animated via CGI are just surface level changes. So rather than reimagining these stories with a fresh perspective, Disney often opts for a slavish devotion to the original material, resulting in films that feel like hollow echoes of their predecessors. The repetitive nature of this trend is leading to the fatigue among its target audience, and this is especially true with The Lion King. And look, yes, I'm picking on this film because I think it's the most egregious. While the photorealistic CGI is visually impressive, the film sacrifices the expressive, larger-than-life characters of the cartoon for a muted, almost documentary-like aesthetic. The emotional depth, so palpable in the animated version, is lost in the translation without anything new to say. The core existence of this film, and most others, seems to be for money! Unbridled capitalism is the key to their undoing. These films primarily exploit nostalgia to ensure financial gains, which in turn boost sales of their merchandise in parks where the actual profits are made. Do you want to know the real reason we got a live-action version of Lilo and Stitch? According to the Wall Street Journal, retail sales of Stitch products grew to $2.6 billion in Disney's 2024 fiscal year from just $200 million 5 years earlier. Lilo and Stitch is now one of Disney's 10 best-selling franchises. By repackaging familiar stories with a glossy new veneer, Disney can lure audiences back to the theaters, preying on their sentimental attachment to the originals so they will go buy more merch. But these movies fail to capture the charm of the original animation, which intensifies the absence of originality in these remakes. Animation provides a realm of creativity, allowing characters to stretch and bend and convey emotions in ways that, well, just don't translate well when you attempt to ground it in our reality. So Disney needs to take a different approach. So remember the iconic Be Our Guest sequence in Beauty and the Beast? The animated film's visual spectacle with dancing cutlery and singing candlesticks is a distinctive viewing experience with a lot of character. But in contrast, the live-action version, while competently executed, feels muted and saturated by the limitations of making CGI characters real. And if you put them up side by side, it's clear which is visually more compelling to the experience. Disney, if you're gonna call something live action, to the best of your ability, follow those parameters in your adaptation and make at least 90% of these films actually live. Hell, you've done it before. The 1996 live-action version of 101 Dalmatians creatively navigated realism while honoring the original material. By using actual animals and acknowledging their limitations, you know, like how real dogs don't speak English, the film offered a different interpretation that did not attempt to replicate the exaggerated expressions of the animated characters. Instead, it leaned into the inherent charm and comedic potential of real-life animal behavior, resulting in a film that felt both true to the spirit of the original and creatively distinct. And this medium also means that the human characters need to be developed further. You want to translate a villain from a cartoon to live action successfully? Just study Glenn Close.
Poison them, drown them, bash them on the head. Got any chloroform? I don't care how you kill the little beast, just do it.
This woman is having the time of her life and completely honoring her cartoon counterpart while adding some nuance and complexities to make her feel human, or as human as a woman can be that wants to skin puppies for a fur coat.
It would be as if I were wearing your dog.
Lilo and Stitch shares similar potential to 101 Dalmatians, as it is also set in our time period. The live-action aspect organically heightens the contrast of his origins. Stitch is an entity from another world who discovers his humanity in our world. The bond between Lilo and Stitch grows through shared trauma, deeply anchored in universal emotions, loneliness, the longing for connection, and the search for family. This relationship encourages deeper exploration of how that theme would resonate in a more realistic context. And that's the part that works really well for the live-action film. Other live-action versions like The Jungle Book or Ever After were great because they created their own identity and didn't directly mimic their animated counterparts. Instead, they expanded on the parts of the original stories that were on the thin side, and then they brought in something new, justifying their existence beyond mere replication and money! In the animated film, Cinderella is a standard heroine who faces hardships while yearning for a better life. The live-action adaptation enhances her by showcasing Ella's resilience, kindness, and bravery. Her unwavering resolve is a direct consequence of her mother's enduring lessons and a heartfelt vow in her mother's final moments.
Have courage and be kind.
Prince Charming in the animated film is also a flat character. He loves Cinderella solely for her mysticism and beauty. I also believe he says maybe 3 sentences in the film. We, the audience, have no clue who this guy is beyond he's the standard prince. However, the live action gives him depth with a name, Kit, a backstory, and a sincere interest in his values. His desire to rule compassionately adds relatability. A new scene featuring Cinderella and Kit's encounter in the woods before the ball highlights their bond, enhancing the credibility of their romance.
Miss, what do they call you?
Never mind what they call me. What do they call you?
You don't know who I am. They call me Kit.
Now, although Ever After did their meet cute in the woods best, the woods scene provides Ella with a more compelling reason to attend the ball. She isn't simply going for the enjoyment of dancing. She's hoping to see the kind Mr. Kit again.
Mr. Kit.
It's you.
In the animated film, the stepmother is also pretty bland, whereas the live-action version provides more backstory for Lady Tremaine. This narrative shows her as a once-loving wife and mother who, after losing her first husband, struggles with financial difficulties and societal expectations to ensure her daughter's futures. This context transforms her from a purely evil character into a desperate woman shaped by the harsh realities of her time. We understand why she resents Cinderella's youth and popularity. Now, the classic songs are absent in this version because Kenneth Branagh was brought in for his unique interpretation, not to replicate what had already been done.
If you believe in courage, and if you believe in kindness, and if you believe in those things as expressions of strength, not weakness.
And that is also what Jon Favreau did with his interpretation of The Jungle Book. The live-action film, even though it's mostly all just CGI, let's be real, incorporates darker and more complex themes from Kipling's original stories, such as the harsh realities of jungle life and the constant struggle for survival.
You must be the very worst wolf I've ever seen.
Yeah, but if the branch didn't break, I would have made it.
Crossing upwind, breaking from your numbers. If you can't learn to run with the pack, one of these days you'll be someone's dinner.
The film emphasizes the law of the jungle and its importance in maintaining order and balance. This provides a moral framework for the story and raises questions about a human's place in nature.
A man cub belongs with man.
We raised him as one of our
I'll
own.
have the boy either way.
While the animated Mowgli is a more simplistic, adventurous, and sometimes bratty character, the live-action Mowgli is portrayed with greater vulnerability and a more pronounced struggle to find his place in the world. His resourcefulness and use of man's tricks are explored in more detail, highlighting his unique position as a human raised by animals. Mowgli's use of his human ingenuity and affiliation with fire become a central conflict in the story.
When the rains returned, it was a question the council had to face.
In this version, Baloo enjoys Mowgli's human tricks and even uses them to get honey.
All you need to do, little one, for payback purposes, is to just shimmy on up there and get me that thing up there that's making that funny noise and bring it back down.
His reasons for having Mowgli around begin selfishly, but gradually he becomes a protective and nurturing mentor, unlike in the animated film where Baloo just instantly likes Mowgli.
Hey kid, you need help. And old Baloo's gonna learn you to fight like a bear.
The portrayal of Shere Khan here also presents a more sinister and tragic backstory in the film. He is scarred by Mowgli's father, who burns his face in an attack, igniting his profound hatred for Mowgli and strengthening his determination to kill him.
You wanna know how I got these scars?
So you see, the best adaptations reinterpret and add to the work.
So yeah, by your logic, Snow White was an adaptation instead of a remake, so why'd that movie bomb?
Well, Doug, the tricky part of an adaptation is knowing what needs to be included and what needs to be expanded upon and what needs to be changed to complement the medium you are adapting to. Most importantly, if you're going to take an established work and translate it, you need creative ingenuity. Your film must feel recognizable while simultaneously saying something new, which is a difficult tightrope to walk. Snow White had no idea what it was trying to say because it was trying to say everything. Like most of its live-action films, Disney felt the need to overcorrect what was deemed outdated, especially with its princesses. I don't feel like that these movies have to offer these modern interpretation of these heroines' actions. Guys, Jasmine was never speechless, Belle never had Stockholm Syndrome, and Ariel never wanted to be human just for a man. In fact, we made a whole video about it. Now, Snow White, okay, she wanted a man and she had a song about it, but honestly, she grew up in a castle with an evil stepmother who sent a huntsman to kill her, and the first person we ever see be kind to her is the prince, so no wonder she likes him. Now, I'm not saying an expansion on Snow White's personality wasn't needed, just make it cohesive. In an attempt to balance Snow White's kindness with more modern agency, she became more generic in her personality. Modernizing the romance in the story also came with problems and lacked originality. Instead of a prince, we get a thief named Jonathan who sings a song with Snow White about her privilege.
Well, that sounds an awful lot like Princess Problem.
Done!
I swear, this guy is just a cheap knockoff of Flynn Rider. It wasn't cute. The only thing cute in this movie was the CGI animals, which, again, 70% of this movie is not real. The dwarves were CGI nightmare fuel thanks to social politics. There were 7 random bandits who were clearly going to be dwarves. The universe didn't feel lived in. The costumes made everyone look like they just finished a LARPing excursion. Most of the time, the cast looks like they're on sets instead of actual locations, and the music has 0 geographical or genre influences besides standard pop. Nothing feels unique or new. In their attempt to appease everyone, Disney ended up pleasing no one.
It's like poetry, so if they rhyme.
And this even happened with Lilo and Stitch. The execution was all over the place, with some scenes being shot-for-shot remakes and others going in completely different directions. Some alien characters were cut back or cut altogether, like Captain Gantu, which meant that the third act had to then be completely restructured. On the surface, changing something isn't inherently a bad idea, but it is a problem when those changes were made due to budget constraints. The film was only given a $100 million budget and was originally scheduled to be released on Disney+. According to the director, Dean Fleischer, Gantu was cut due to wanting to free up real estate for the sisters' relationships to be expanded more, which, by the way, we're not buying that because they still added 23 minutes to the film. It's also a bizarre thing to switch around because, in cutting Gantu, Dean had to change Jumba's character journey. In the animated film, he goes from evil mad genius to curious scientist to friend to Stitch and the sisters.
You expect me to help you just like that? Just like that? Ugh. Fun.
But in the live-action version, there's really no character arc. He starts and ends in the same place. If something needs to be changed, then at least make it compelling. The seed of such a compelling idea was planted with Nani. Now, I love the idea of exploring how the deaths of Nani's parents meant that she missed out on things like college. But the ending, where she gives Tutti full custody of Lilo, is a betrayal of the original movie. She could have done a joint guardianship, or maybe, instead of going to a fancy school in California, she could have attended a school in Hawaii so she could stay with Lilo. Now, it's not to say that I disagree with Nani choosing to go back to school so she can plan for a better future, but I do disagree with these choices because they change the interpretation of the core message of the animated film, which is about Ohana.
Ohana means family.
The changes seem to create out-of-character behavior that neither honors the original messaging nor adds to what already worked, which is that the concept of growing a family that is
little and broken, but still good.
Look, Disney, if you're gonna keep doing this to us, adapt an animated movie that could actually benefit by translating it to live action. Lilo and Stitch is easy. Do something challenging. Adapt a film that critics and audiences poorly received, such as The Black Cauldron. You know, the animated movie that nearly shut down the animation department before The Little Mermaid turned the ship around. The Black Cauldron offers a rich, complex narrative that could thrive in a live-action format. Inspired by Welsh mythology, the dark fantasy setting presents a unique opportunity to create a visually stunning and immersive world that'll make you This is an established IP with a built-in audience. The Black Cauldron is based on Lloyd Alexander's The Chronicles of Prydain, a very popular series of 5 fantasy novels. The animated film suffered from a congested plot and underdeveloped characters, mainly because it attempted to condense multiple books into one film. An adaptation could address these issues by streamlining the narrative, focusing primarily on the second book, The Black Cauldron, while selectively drawing elements from the Book of 3 for essential context and character introductions. You can even make multiple movies. I mean, Disney, I know you love franchises, right? Character development could also be significantly enhanced. Taran's journey from naive pig keeper to a hero grappling with responsibility could be explored more in depth. Princess Ioloni's bravery, intelligence, and magical abilities could be given a more prominent role, allowing her relationship with Taran to develop more organically. A more compelling backstory and motivations could make the Horned King's villainy more complex. And finally, Gurgi's loyalty and self-sacrifice could be emphasized, adding significant emotional weight to his character arc. A blend of CGI, puppetry, and animatronics could offer a compelling approach for the Black Cauldron. Channel some Dark Crystal vibes with characters such as Gurgi. Have him be a detailed puppet that provides a tangible presence on set, allowing actors to interact with him more naturally, like with Grogu in The Mandalorian. But then use CGI to enhance his facial expressions and movements for greater nuance and wide shots. The Horned King could be created using detailed prosthetics and makeup. And then, if you combine it with a powerful physical performance by an actor in the spirit of Doug Jones's Creature work, he could be a truly menacing and unforgettable villain. The adaptation could lean into a more mature, horror-like experience that anchors the fantastical elements in a more visceral and emotionally impactful reality. That would be awesome! I'm already in the theater on day 1 to watch it. Think of all the merch you could sell.
Watch the profits come rolling in.
Now, of course, this would all be for naught if they didn't hire the right team to helm it.
Do it! Just do it!
Ultimately, Disney's live-action films highlight a fundamental misunderstanding of what makes these animated films so exceptional. Innovative originality from its Imagineers. Cinderella worked because of Kenneth Branagh. The Jungle Book worked because of Jon Favreau. And 101 Dalmatians worked because of John Hughes. These animated films are not mere stories to be replicated, they are unique works of art, where every single frame, every song, and every character was carefully crafted to create a magical classic. If you're gonna mess with them, bring something new to the table. Otherwise, by prioritizing profit over artistry, Disney is robbing audiences of the opportunity to experience something that is truly transformative. I mean, if I had it my way, Disney would focus on creating new and original stories to maintain its cultural influence. By investing its vast resources in developing new intellectual property, Disney could establish new classics and legacies rather than relying on diminishing returns from mining its existing material. If they don't focus on creating new IP, it will eventually run out of things to remake. So instead, adapt. But that is just what we think. What do you think? Should Disney keep making live-action remakes? Did you see Lilo and Stitch? Did you like it? Do you like Snow White? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below or at me on Twitter, Blue Sky, or Threads. And big shout out to Bevan who wrote this video. You can find her social links below or on our free-to-join Discord server. And if it's your first time here, please subscribe, smash that bell for alerts. For ScreenCrush, I'm Ryan Airy.